Joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast is Jennifer Ward. She is one of many local theater enthusiasts participating in the Playwrights at Work one-act festival that's coming up at the Birmingham Village Players July 29th through the 31st. Jennifer, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate having you on. So first off, how did you get involved with the Birmingham Village Players? Have you always been a lover of the theater, or was this something that you just kind of picked up in the community and really enjoyed?
It actually theater came to me later in life when my children were in high school and became involved in theater. And long story short, I fell in love with it, was on stage, been behind stage, and I went back to school to get a theater degree. But when my kids were in high school, I got involved with my daughter in community theater and in the area. Community theater in this area, at least, is a very small world. We know each other. We know other theaters. We see each other. We communicate. And I saw an audition at Birmingham Players. My first experience with this particular festival was in a show written by Myron Stein, who was one of our original members of this Playwrights at Work group. And it was perfect for me because there were no lines. It was all lines. So that was several years ago. And I've directed a couple of them. And then I went away from community theater for a while because I went back and got my theater degree. And I've been doing high school theater. I do an after-school program in Clarkston. And during the pandemic, I was kind of looking for something to use my playwriting skills that I learned at OU. And one of my friends, who's also involved in this, said, "Hey, I really like this play that you wrote, and why don't you come and join our group?" So I'm back in it. I'm back in the community theater world and happy.
So Jennifer, you are serving as the festival producer of this year's one-act festival, having gone back to school to study theater and had that really turn into what was originally a kind of a family hobby and something that your kids were interested in, to being a full-on passion of yours. Now that you're back with the Birmingham Village Players and you've been back with them after getting your degree in theater, how does that change the experience for you, maybe even enhanced the experience of working in a community theater with other enthusiasts and lovers of entertainment in the local area?
Well, and I think that you nailed it. These people don't do it because they have to. They do it because they want to, because they enjoy it. They enjoy the process, whether it's on stage, behind stage, or writing for the stage, or all of the above, because many of us are multi-talented. But I think I have a better appreciation for it, having done it more, I don't know, professionally. Yeah, I would say I'm a theater professional because I work with high school students. But I think I'm better equipped to enhance the process for the people that I work with, and more understanding of how it all works, so that I'm a better person to work with me. So I think I've learned a lot, and doing this one-act festival is a great opportunity for me to be invested, but in a small way, because I'm busy with my job in the wintertime. But in the summertime, this is a perfect opportunity for me to be all in and help everybody out. And as producer, I kind of work with everybody that's involved. So that's it's fun to have. I love putting everything together. So
we're joined by Jennifer Ward, the festival producer of the Birmingham Village Players One-Act Play Festival presented by Playwrights at Work. You can find more information on the festival by visiting their website at birminghamvillageplayers.com. You click on the Playwrights at Work link at the top of their page, and it'll take you the information on the One-Act Festival, July 29th, 30th, and 31st. The 29th and the 30th, the shows are at 8 p.m. 31st, it is a matinee at 2 p.m. Plenty of one-act plays, a lot of variety, actors, writers, all across the local area who are participating in this local theater extravaganza at the Birmingham Village players. And of course, we're joined by the festival producer, Jennifer Ward, who's also one of the playwrights in this year's One Act Festival. Jennifer, you wrote us a play entitled Not My Son. Can you give us a synopsis of that play and what sparked you to write this story and made it for you? I have to tell this story.
I always start a play with a what if. And sometimes I have to imagine the what if, and sometimes the what if came to me. And in this particular case, this what if came to me in a conversation with somebody I work with who was talking about their nephew and the anniversary of their passing. And so I asked what's the story? And so this particular story is based in fact. And as Mark Twain says, fiction has to make sense. So my story varies a lot, actually, from the original story. But a young man was murdered in Royal Oak, and his mother got wind of it. He was estranged from the family, and he was kind of couch surfing in the area. But she went to the hospital. And when she got to the hospital, she found that there were other mothers there that all thought it was their son. So my story is about three women, because for one act, you want to limit it. I'm not sure how many women there were there at the original story, but I have three women of disparate social economic class. So this play could be done by three women of any race, class, social standing, and it would work. But it's three women, one more wealthy, one that's more of a blue-collar worker, and one who is just scrapping her life together. And the three women show up at the hospital, and they are all wondering if it's their son that's in triage and badly injured. And until the hospital is able to identify them, identify the boy, the three women don't know. So the story has a nurse and a detective who help solve the mystery of whose son it is, whether it's one of the three or somebody else's altogether. So I don't want to give it away, but.
So what about this story do you hope resonates with the audience? What sort of messages, what sort of themes are you hoping to get across to the audience, and hopefully they learn from having seen Not My Son?
The three women all love their sons. And the three sons, none of them are perfect. And the three women in a very short amount of time form a bond. I strongly believe that you can't have enough mothers in your life, that it takes a village to raise a child, and that village doesn't have to include people who are the same as you are. As a matter of fact, we're made stronger by having a variety of people in our kids' lives. Our kids are made stronger, and are we? And the lessons that we learn from watching another mother and how they raise their child is also a little bit of it. And I just hope people resonate with the feeling of how desperate one might be, thinking that their child may die, and having other people feeling the same way, and being able to come together and support one another in their despair.
You being a mother yourself, Jennifer, how did that factor into your writing style and your writing approach as you're developing these characters? And on top of that, developing these characters in a very traumatic and a very dramatic story that is taking place in just one act. It's 30 minutes or so in length. That's a very short amount of time when it comes to the theater. So what about your motherhood factored into your writing style and the character development in Not My Son?
Sure. Well, I do. I have a son and a daughter, and I just couldn't imagine when they're sick, when they're hurt, when they're physically hurt or emotionally hurt, you just want to take care of them. And in the rehearsals that I've watched, I get teared up every time, and it's not my son, but it would tear me apart to think that my son or my daughter is being cared for and I cannot be there to help. And I'm sorry, I've lost track of what your question was, Tyler, but because I get very verklempt even seeing it. I wrote it quite a while ago, but the women that are portraying these three moms are really capturing the essence of what I know I would feel if I were in those shoes. So as a playwright, they're getting it. That makes me feel great that my words are relating to them as well.
That's what really is so special about creative storytelling, whether it is theater or film or television, however it is. You really are, from a writer's standpoint, you write what you know, and what you don't know, you try to put yourself in that scenario in any way that you possibly can to coherently develop characters and realistically develop characters in a way that people will resonate with. And especially in a one-act play, and you touched on this briefly, especially in a one-act play, being that it is in such a condensed period of time, how did you approach writing this particular story without rushing the emotion and certainly the trauma that these characters, particularly these three women, are undergoing?
Well, the one thing, the what if, which was, what if my son was in the hospital? That's my first process when writing a play. But my second thing, I had to have the overall idea, but my first bit is the conflict. So right away, we need to know that something bad has happened. So the nurse and the first mother are bickering over, I need to see my son. If I can just see him, I'll know. So starting right off the bat, the audience knows something traumatic has happened, and she's the mom, and this nurse is trying to be sympathetic, but also trying to do her job in a emergency room setting. So right away, the audience should be like sitting up going, oh my God, what's going on? What's happening? And as the other people enter the scene, it's the same thing. It's the conflict. It's just each one hits it. The exposition is in part how the women talk, the words that they use, and part of it is the way they're costumed and the way that they act. And that's a little bit in words that are written that the audience wouldn't see, of course, at the beginning, but it's us in the character descriptions. But hopefully it's also that the actors pick that up and the director picks that up in the way that they talk about their son, and the way, for instance, one of them, she's picking up her son, or was going to pick up her son from her ex-husband who was dead drunk, and that's why I wanted to be picked up. So that gives you really quickly an idea of the woman and her son's situation. So it's tricky, and it's hard to be brief, but I'm also a Winston Churchill fan. That forgive me for the long speech, but I didn't have time to write a short one, and that's how I approach my playwriting. I like to be concise, which is why I'm better at short plays than long ones.
We're joined by Jennifer Ward. She is the festival producer for the Birmingham Village Players Playwrights at Work one-act play festival happening July 29th through the 31st at the Birmingham Village Players on Woodward in Birmingham. You can find more information and purchase tickets for the festival by visiting birminghamvillageplayers.com. You click on their Playwrights at Work link at the top of their page, and there it'll explain not only what the Playwrights at Work group is and how you can get involved, but also how you can get tickets in advance of the show. It'll be $10 for the tickets plus a $1 processing fee. So let's call it $11 tickets at birminghamvillageplayers.com. And you'll get to see and get to experience the storytelling that's filled with emotion, filled with laughter, filled with both and more from original writers right here in your community, your neighbors, your friends, your family that are able to have these opportunities. And Jennifer, just another couple minutes with you before we need to say goodbye. I want to talk about how great of an opportunity it is to be able to join a group like the Birmingham Village Players. And if people want to get involved, or people maybe are interested in the theater, but they don't know where to start, why should they get involved with a group like the Birmingham Village Players?
The Birmingham Village Players has been around. This is going to be, they're approaching their 100th anniversary of doing theater in Birmingham. They're a family. They're members, 30, 40 years. My tenure is quite short compared to a lot of people. They're good people that want to get together and put on good entertainment. And the Playwrights at Work in particular, they're smart, and they're friendly, and they're encouraging. And there are ways, just by going on the website and clicking and asking questions. But in particular, the Playwrights at Work, we do readings of our plays to test it out amongst ourselves. And we sometimes have people, and that's kind of how I got into it, was we have people from outside of our group who we know are actors come in and read our work for us so that we can all sit and listen to another voice do it, which is a great way if you're nervous about being an actor, or you like it and you just don't have time to commit. But we meet twice a week on a Monday night, twice a month on a Monday night. So if you want an invitation to come in and read for us, the one act, we do 2 10-minute play presentations that are with a script in hand. So that's a great way if you think you might want to try it out, try acting out, or just don't have that time to commit, or the brain RAM to remember lines. That's a great way to be on stage. And there's a myriad of ways to be involved, everything from ushering to stage managing and playwriting. So there's 100 different ways to be involved, something for everybody.
And you get to learn also a little bit about everything in the theater from a supportive environment and a low pressure environment where you can tap in to that creativity and, of course, build your passion for theater and entertainment. We've been joined by Jennifer Ward, the festival producer for the Birmingham Village Players Playwrights at Work one-act play festival happening July 29th through the 31st. Throughout this interview, which you can find on demand later on this afternoon on civiccentertv.com on our Megacast page, we've had a QR code linked in this article. You just scan that QR code. It'll take you directly to their Playwrights at Work page at birminghamvillageplayers.com, just in case you don't have the capacity or don't want to just go ahead and remember all these different steps. Going to birminghamvillageplayers.com, clicking on Playwrights at Work, scrolling down the page for ticket information and how you can get involved as well. You can just scan this QR link that will be on demand, civiccentertv.com on our Megacast page, where you'll find this interview later on today. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.